I gotta apologize. It's been almost 2 years since I last uploaded anything to my channel, and I have partially a good reason for it. The first one is late 2023. I slipped and fell and broke my femur. It happened the day after Thanksgiving. I went rushing out the door, not thinking it would be icy or anything, and went to step on my top step and quickly realized that it was slippery. And both feet went slipping and sliding, and both went left. I went right and came crashing down on the top step of my front porch and broke my femur. Don't know what black ice is. It's a thin layer of ice that looks black. It might look a little wet, but it's actually ice, and it usually forms below zero. And it usually is because there is ice moisture already on the ground. In this case, it can be because snow has melted and it's now refrozen, or it's rained and then it froze. I broke it, and the femur is the upper leg bone that goes from the hip socket all the way down to the knee. About a week and a half to 2 weeks in the hospital, and then later was transferred to a rehab center where physical therapy was required, and I was there about a month and ended up getting out on the 23rd of December and then spent the first 3 months of 2024 last year just to recover and get to a point where I can walk without any kind of assistance, walker, or any of that. And then it took a little while longer than that just to get the full strength of my leg back. And it's, long story short, that was the beginning of the year, and then I ended up procrastinating on anything new, and eventually I ended up having to work on projects that had been started but had been sitting on the back burner for a little while. One of which is Mount Rainier. On October 9th, 2022, I rode to Mount Rainier, what's left of the immediate family, which meant my oldest sister and my middle sister, her daughter and her then fairly new baby, and two brothers-in-law, one of whom is a widow as he was married to her youngest sister. And one of the reasons we were there was to drop some of her ashes in the Nisqually River. It was one of her favorite places to go. In the summer of 2024, the project picked up again when I did a road trip from Tacoma to the north side of Mount Rainier National Park. I wanted to show Moage Lake, Carbon River entrance, as well as the river or the entrance going into Ohanabakash and Sunrise, as well as gathering materials for the project as a whole. Meanwhile, I was working concurrently on the University Place project, beginning in September of last year, taking a road trip to University Place to show the major roads, the three north-south arterials and the four east-west arterials, and then started working on all of the images, photos, and stuff, gathering all those things, getting them into the editing project so that I can start editing. And I have been working on that pretty semi regularly, and I've gotten several timelines going. Most of them partially finished, if not fully finished, and I'm planning on having to decide whether to combine them all together or make them in sections. But I am making progress on that project. I just need to get back onto it. At the time of the femur break, I was working a job I'd obtained in September 2023, but was not able to start until October due to the length of time it takes for the federal government to vet one's background. I had been there not too long when the day after Thanksgiving, having slipped and fallen and breaking the femur, ended that job as they were short two people for the contract, two clerks and a supervisor. The supervisor was dismissed due to not doing his job correctly, and the other clerk was left when I went down and had to step away, as by early January of last year, they still had no replacement supervisor, thus needed me to come back as soon as I could. Now, a year and a half or so later, a job came up and I applied for it, and it was with the federal government as a contractor at a local office in Kent, Washington. Yes, it means a commute, but it's not into Seattle across Lake Washington like I did when I first moved into my house, so it's not as bad of a commute. Since it's federal government, it means hurry up and wait while they vet my background. Since I was with the GSA previously as a contractor, getting approval should not be an issue. So far, initial background check passed, and I've since gotten the job. I'd be working for the Department of Labor for folks working in the coal mines in places like Alabama, and it's called Black Lung. A job came up in late July that would have had me working at the bases, JBLM Joint Base Lewis McChord, but south of Lakewood. But I was not chosen for it, and it would require an enhanced license required for flying or going into Canada or Mexico and to get into some federal buildings and on the bases. But decided to go ahead and get it just in case, even if I end up not being chosen. Didn't even get called for an interview. Meanwhile, last fall, arranged my living room, so now the couch is under the window where it began when I moved into my house in 2016, as that is how my sister arranged it initially. The space is much improved over the old arrangement, as now the couch does not stick awkwardly into the room like it did. I hope this coming year, if this job with the Department of Labor goes well, I could think about removing the old gas wall furnace, died 2 to 3 years ago, and transition away from space heaters and baseboard heating and likely go with a heat pump. Or, to be more precise, a mini split system. I also fixed my living room clock and gave it a fresh coat of paint. This meant the movement had stopped working about a year or so before and finally got around to replacing it, and in the process decided to repaint it I had been meaning to do so for almost since 2010 when I first bought the clock at Marshall's in North Seattle. I had been in there just because I wanted to see what they have and spotted it, and it was perfect for the living room. And this was after having done errands up north, shoreline area. Last spring, I tried another entity with mortgage forbearance relief and had tried with Habitat for Humanity earlier the year before, but they never did come through as they should have. American Financial Solutions, I think out of Everett, was able to, and forms were filled out, and they paid up the amount not paid up till April 2024. Well, on forbearance, and I've been paying up since then. A few years back, began the slow path to upgrade my PC, as decently powered desktops are not cheap, easily costing $1,500 plus depending on the configuration. The path to this upgrade began when I had to replace an old Dell desktop I had bought new in 2009. We bought a then 6-year-old small form factor desktop, a 4th gen Intel i5, and tossed in my aging old NVIDIA GT610 graphics card, and it served me well for a time. That computer ended up lasting longer than anticipated, 4 years, before it was replaced with a similar but newer desktop. Difference: it was a 7th gen i5 and came with an NVMe M.2 drive instead, my first of that style of drive, and Windows 11. This past fall, I made a promise to myself to begin research and did a spreadsheet, initially going for a Z790 chipset, 13th, 14th gen i7, but instead went with the Core 7 Ultra and the Z890 board from Gigabyte. So in January, bought the last bits and put it together. Today, I run the latest version of DaVinci Resolve, editing up to 4K videos. If all goes well, I'll save up and get the paid version, Studio, and the speed editor that comes with the license for the paid version with it. Earlier, I made a spreadsheet that was not orderly, and that may have been what caused the initial plan for a buddy of mine to help me with funding a new computer. But ultimately, I redo utilizing color coding of each choice, meaning a column based on the motherboard, the processor, and anything else that might be different. Otherwise, it's the same basic components. And I ended up going with Gigabyte. So, February 2024, bought a refurbished laptop, a Dell Latitude with a power brick, running 11 Home. These are found at workplaces as they are workstation-grade laptops. It's an 8th gen i5-based laptop, so not terribly powerful, but new enough to be relevant for a good while. I may eventually look to find a refurbished Precision laptop instead later on. These tend to be much more capable. It sits next to the stereo, connected via a digital interface and a docking station so I can take it with me periodically, connected to the docking station so I can only have two cables to unplug. The power cable for the power brick and the USB cable to the dock. Since the brick is hidden behind a speaker, I bought a second one via eBay to take with as necessary. With the femur gotten broken, I decided after noticing my leg get stiff, especially the right leg at the hip area, and decided I should look into a standing desk. So in the spring began to price one and save up and ended up with a FlexiSpot desk on sale via Amazon. It's a touch larger than the old desk and got it for less than $200. Desks like this one typically goes for $250, $300 minimum, and not all of them are as nicely made as this one. Mind you, it's their base model. A one-piece chipboard top in a mahogany grain-like finish in melamine, and a single motor two-pedestal base. The day it arrived, I took time to tear down the office and rearrange it, so now the desk faces the window, and the white bookshelves were rearranged, and I'm slowly going through stuff and getting some organization out of the office. Something I never got done when I moved into the place in 2016. Still dog sitting, 2 dogs for good friends. Hudson was at my place on the day I shot all this. He is seen in the video clip. I still take care of Fresca, an elderly black lab that belongs to the other good friends. I was able to apply for and get SSDI in 2024, and on SNAP for food. Had cash, but with SSDI, now just food. This job, if I get it, may end the SSDI and SNAP, but at minimum it'll reduce the amount of each. Most likely SNAP will end, the SSDI will remain, but at a reduced rate. Either way, a lot of this all hinges on what Trump and his company can get, as the big beautiful bill may die a sudden death if Democrats get their way, or at minimum parts of the bill will get stripped out. Meanwhile, still living here, paying mortgage and utilities. But I've also been working on projects here at the house, as well as playlists to put together to be played in the stereo or at the desktop computer. So when I was putting the office back together, I ended up having to replace my wireless router with a new one, and that has a USB port. The old one did not. And once we got it replaced and got it all set up, I'm now able to make playlists and put them on that, and then I could just connect to it via either Wi-Fi or through the Ethernet cable and play the music right off of that. It's been great. I've been getting back into projects, made a big playlist of tracks called Grazing Through the Grass Musically, which includes the Hugh Marsalis piece, Grazing in the Grass from 1968, and among other things. And I'm in the process now of redoing the Beatles CD project that I began back in 2014, and making it into playlists for both here at the house, but also for the car. So that's been where things are going, and I have a second digital interface in the office to plug the microphone into, which the original microphone crapped out. It was a JL Labs microphone. It crapped out. So now I have one that actually runs off of XLR, and it can plug into the Focusrite, they both work great. So I can play these playlists from either computer as I want to, and it's just giving me a chance to have another creative outlet besides video. And that is the state of things here at Little House as of January 2026. I'm doing okay now, but we'll see how the political winds change as we get into the year. Things aren't looking good for Trump. His health is obviously not good. His cognizant abilities have deteriorated, and I don't think health-wise, physically, he's doing all that well either. So there's that, and then there's the rest of his cabinet, which I hope gets dismantled as well. But I'm doing okay, and as I said, this is the state of things at Little House, and thanks for watching.